Okay, gorgeous. I'm going to have a go at wandering around outside. I'm giving myself the liberty to wander inside if the Wi-Fi drops out, because it's a bit humid and slightly moist out here. And often in that kind of circumstance, the Wi-Fi doesn't work too well. You know, I can actually feel a little... So there is our normal 30-second bump. Let's see if we get more of them or if we have a camel-free transmission. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Nesreen. We are late today because we've just been in the Heartfield together. And yeah, I think we're probably going to have a camel infestation, but I'll just wait and see. Even just to show you just briefly. Look, we've got some flowers. It's just nice to be outside. Some purple campanula, and oh look, this amazing cobweb, because some spiders making eggs. Hi Berna, lovely to see you. And we've got these funny white flowers that I don't know what they're called, because they're a wild thing that arrived a while ago, but they're lovely. Got some chives flowers down here. Can actually eat those, which I sometimes do, better than letting them run to seed. Hi Marianne, good morning again, Julian. Such a good time in the Heartfield together. And the Wi-Fi's holding up, so whoopee. Thank you for camel duty. Look, we've got little strawberries on the strawberry plant. Alright, they followed you, Linda, but they're staying away from here, so well done. And we've still got larkspur over there as well. And under here, there's a hydrangea, which I moved from somewhere else. So I won't go too far because the Wi-Fi probably will drop out. But anyway, just to show you the garden. And see, it's a very grey sky. It's just low cloud, really. Nothing more or less than low cloud. But it's nice to be out here. So, let me turn this around. Okay, so today... That's right. It's like it was a lifetime ago yesterday. Was. Yesterday... we made some mention of feeling guilty. Oh yeah, feeling guilty for saying no. And if you say no and you're not happy about it, or the consequences are, you know, unhappy, or you feel bad. And I thought, I mean, there's lots of threads that could come out of this conversation that we had yesterday and Monday. And I'm probably going to pick up on a few of them. But the one that resonated for today is just to talk about guilt. And I thought, well, hang on a minute. Really, what's guilt about? And the common thing that people understand about guilt is, you know, somebody made me feel guilty. Well, how did that happen? Often it's because they have an expectation of you, and for whatever reason, and usually it's spurious bullshit and it's not true and it's unfair and a whole bunch of other things, you haven't met up to that expectation, and they do what they do and say what they say, and you feel guilty. Hi Lucy, morning. So what is this feeling of guilt? I mean, it really is feeling unworthy, it's feeling bad, it's feeling small, it's feeling shame, you know, pretty dense stuff. And you know, it happens a lot when we're kids. Oh, you were naughty, bad boy, bad girl. Instead of saying that behaviour is undesirable, that behaviour is unacceptable, bad person, bad behaviour. They tend to get all wrapped up into one, and we think that we are our behaviour, and if our behaviour's bad, we must be bad. I've certainly done this myself. But we have to separate the two. Because if you continue to think that you are your behaviour... Hi, Steph! Morning, beautiful! If you continue to think that you are whatever people's response is to your behaviour, actually... Monica, good morning! Then you're going to feel guilty a lot, because you're doing stuff, and whether it's good or bad depends upon the response of other people around you. And that's pretty rough, because as we all know, it's really impossible to please everybody. And the whole people-pleasing thing often comes, at least to some degree, from trying to avoid feeling guilty or feeling small or feeling bad or feeling, you know, whatever it is. Moonbeam, shiny, lovely to see you. So, you know, the first way, so this is a rambling way for me to try to get to what I wanted to say today. Because I was thinking last night when I was pulling this together, how is it that we end up feeling guilty? You know, what's this about? How does this actually work? And what I came to is that if I feel guilty, there's one of two reasons. I couldn't really think of any more than two reasons. Doctoras, good morning! And the first reason is that I have taken responsibility for something that isn't mine. And this is the one that's common. Buying into other people's opinion of your behaviour. Exactly. This is the one where you say, I did this, that person expressed this opinion about it to me, and I feel bad as a result. Right? One way or another, you feel guilty because, you know, it's a sin. It's wrong. Morning, Eric. You're a bad person. All of that stuff you get told. And then I thought, yeah, but that's not the only reason you feel guilty, because what about the person who's actually really done a crime, who's really hurt somebody? Hi, Anthony. It's lovely to see you. What about them? Because, you know, because you have people who do crimes and they feel guilty, right? And then you have some people, because they have a different brain, they have a condition, they do crimes and they do not feel guilty. So what's that about? And I thought, we feel guilty if we have broken our own internal code. Our own internal code of what's right or wrong inside us. You know? And yes, you do end up resenting people if you do stuff to try to please them and you don't really want to, but you do it because you're feeling guilty. Totally, Steph. Such a common pattern, you know. So that was a really interesting thing for me to realise, that for me, if I feel guilty about something, it's because I don't do things to please people. Not very often. It still happens, it does, but not very often. But if I feel guilty now, most of the time it's because something that has transpired, or something I've done, or a choice I've made, or whatever, has in some way, and it can be quite subtle, it means I've transgressed my own internal code of ethics about what's right. You know, if I'm a good person, then I do this, and if I'm a bad person, then I do that, and if I'm a bad person, I feel guilty. Oh, yes, the old thing. Oh, if you loved me, you would do this. It's the oldest and nastiest one in the world, I reckon. Love, right. Lisa Louise, lovely to see you. Love, yeah, that's your reason for not being true to yourself. What a load of shit. But so many of us, I didn't grow up with that, I'm very grateful, but many people do. The guilt-tripping parent, and it is often the mother, but usually because the mother grew up like that herself, right? So it's a pattern, we learn it. So those, for me, are the two ways that I can end up feeling guilty. I allow myself to feel responsible for another person's opinion or reaction or response or whatever to something that I've decided to do or be or have or whatever. Or something's transpired and I really feel inside myself, oh, that's not who I wanted to be. Oh, it feels awful that I did that, or that I was that, or that I, you know. Those are, to me, are the only two ways that a person can feel guilty. So the first one is very clearly somebody else's problem. Although that is simple to say. I can see a lot of you sort of go, yeah, thanks, Maddie, I already knew that. Well, actually, I think some people don't know that. I think it's very important for people to realise that you feeling guilty because of someone else's bullshit is actually not your problem. It really isn't your problem. However, you're accustomed to making it your problem. It's fired and wired in your brain and in your body that you need to keep that other person or those people or that community or that workplace or whatever it is happy. And so your guilt becomes it is a form of control, subtle, sometimes not subtle, very powerful indeed. Your guilt actually becomes a way that you navigate through your life, because you know that if you're not feeling guilty, then everybody's happy and you're safe. It can be a pretty shitty way to live, but it can also be the way that you survive. And sometimes we just have to do what we have to do to survive. But then there comes a point where you think, I want more to my life than survival, and you start saying no. We talked about that yesterday, and you have to say no a lot sometimes before you really start to figure out what you want to say yes to. Whole nother story. Listen to yesterday if you didn't catch that one. And so recognising that this feeling of guilt that we think is who we are isn't. It's not. It's just deeply programmed. And we get to choose if we continue to fire and wire that, and what we believe is the thing that is just the hugest limit in our lives or not. If we say it's the biggest or the worst, then it is. Because, if you take 100 people and you ask them what their biggest thing that they feel guilty about is, a lot of them will be the same, but they won't all be the same. We've all got different firing and wiring, so recognise that whatever it is that's biggest for you is biggest for you. And that's because you've got the most hardware in your brain about those experiences and the most conditioning in your body that says this is how it feels, and that's what makes it big, and that's what you're in the business of changing. So when you realise that, and you realise that is somebody else's shit, and it is shit, it really is shit, to live with, it's difficult, it's challenging, because it makes you feel small and low and all that stuff, and it's stressful. It is about saying no. It is about deciding who you want to be. It is about disentangling yourself. It is about thinking, well, who am I without this guilt? How would I live? How would I feel? Oh my God, that's like another planet. I need to imagine myself on Mars before I can think about how it is to not feel guilty. It really is about creating the new self and beginning to walk into that life, one way or another. If you find that you've violated your own internal code and you feel guilty, and it's like this guilt where it's about other people are imposing this stuff on you, and it becomes yours and you internalize it, but you recognize it from an external source. But if you're feeling that deep sense of, it really is pain of, oh my God, that's not who I want to be. It's that deep. It's like something painful and sharp turning inside you that says, no, this is so discordant with who I want to be. It's a different kind of guilt, and it's a guilt that tells you you've actually hurt yourself. You've violated yourself. You've gone against your own internal code of ethic and the way you want to be. And that's got nothing to do with what's outside. Yeah, having to say no for your own sanity is a big deal. And how much we invest in that vow, some people invest a whole lot in that vow and they mean it for life. And some people it's like, oh yeah, whatever, I'll probably be divorced and married again another couple of years, because it's all about the person and what that choice means. So, yeah, and you see, you're all beautifully contributing all of these different ideas that we have about what these experiences begin to mean to us and what we put together about it inside ourselves. Oh dear. Oh no, it's an empty snail shell. I didn't just step on a snail. And bottom line, it's always about who do I want to be now. It's so easy and usual and tempting, frankly, to keep going back and say, oh, well, it's because of this, and I feel guilty because I was told that, and because of all this, and, and we tell ourselves the story one more time. And it reaffirms your identity. It reaffirms who you think you are because of this stuff that happened, and I feel guilty, and, But that's not going to change it for you. The thing that will change it for you is to begin to imagine this completely impossible experience, just a little bit, in an alternate universe that you can't reach yet, but you can go there in your imagination, of what it's like to not even remember that feeling. Really? Yeah, really. You have seen enough movies, you have had enough positive experiences in your life, even with a really difficult life. There are still memories that you can look back on, and stories you've read and other people you've seen. There is information that you have observed in your environment from which you can assemble a new picture, sound, feeling, taste, presence, experience of being the kind of person that you want to feel like being, where that sense of, oh, if I do this, will it keep, who's going to complain, or will it keep everybody happy? Where you make choices and they're for you. You don't consider 50 other people first. You don't consider what society might think. You don't consider anybody first. You consider yourself first. And in that universe where you actually dare and choose to consider yourself first, you are fully aware that when you do that, you are going to choose what is best for everybody else that you care about in your life. Because it is not possible to do something that is truly loving to somebody else if it's not loving to you. It is not possible. And that can be pretty scary, really, because your whole life may be built around pleasing other people and keeping people happy and looking after them and rescuing them and everything else. And in this other universe, you're not doing any of that, and you kind of don't know who you are because you're so used to being that rescuing, fixing, keep everybody happy person. And you do have to get strong in the sense of who you are, separate yourself from the judgment of others, and realise it was never about you, it was about them the entire time. Absolutely. So we have to extract ourselves from the stories that other people have told us and the stories we've told ourselves about, you did this, you made that choice, you screwed up, whatever, and that means you're a bad person. We have to stop telling those stories and say, okay, I screwed up. I know. I'm living with the results. Can we stop going over this now, rewind the tape and watch it one more time so I can feel more remorse and reproach? Can we stop that now? Yes, actually, we can and we will. Who do I want to be again? Shit, I don't know. I'm so used to being this person. And that's that. The moment you get to that, gee, I can't even imagine myself not being like this. And that's a really deep question to even really, really, truly ask yourself. No excuses, no, but this is the reason why. Just who do I want to be and how does it feel and what would my life look like? When you ask yourself that question, you can't even imagine an answer. Understand you have got to a really good place. Because you've got to the end of your stories and you've got to the end of all the reasons why and all the rationale. And now you're really starting to ask, truly, who do you want to be? It's a big question. And you may stay with, I don't have any idea, for quite some time. And if you're there, or if you've been there, or if you think you're going back there, as weird as it is, and sometimes it can be terrifying, try to celebrate it. Try to understand that this is progress. If you don't know, you're going somewhere new. While you can tell all the stories and explain all the reasons and say, well, it's because of this and it's because of that, and you're all about the past, you're still living the story that you don't want to live anymore. You've got to make a new one. And it feels really strange. If your whole way of being has been a certain thing and you can explain all the reasons for it, to just stick yourself in a teleporter and go somewhere else, drop all of that, leave it on this planet. Hi, Lisa, great to see you. Leave it behind. Just in your imagination. Say, okay, what is this alternate universe where I don't have that past, where that person was never there in my life, where nobody conned me into believing any bullshit, where I was brought up by the most amazing parents. We've got to create it into ourselves. Yeah, and there is the sense of loss of the old thing, Steph. There is. You're right. You actually have to let it go, and there's a degree of grieving, of letting go, of dying of the old self and the old reality. But here's a hint. As you start to become the new person, that's going to happen anyway. It will. I've seen it over and over. I've seen it in my own life. I see it in the people I work with. As they elevate their vibration, the people they used to hang out with who were happy to dump guilt on them and with whom they played that game, they just get to the point of saying, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore. They stop playing, and then shortly after they stop wanting to play the game, the person just sort of fades out of their life. It is part of the process. But if you start to imagine new parents, new siblings, believe it or not, if you create that sense of me with these wonderful people that love me exactly as I was, and the siblings that I played with, and yeah, we fought, but you know, we loved each other, whatever it is, the ideal past that you wish you have and you believe you can't have, what happens is the old life, the old past is going to die slowly and surely, and new people will arrive and walk into your life and take up those places. And so what if they don't share your DNA? So what? We get to create it. And I see myself doing it. I am doing it. And yeah, there's dying and there's letting go and there's fear and there's challenge and there's all of that stuff. But the more energy I put into creating who I want to be and the past I wanted to have and the future I want to have, the more the old stuff goes away all by itself. So I encourage you to not be scared by the appearance of absence, because you're losing something that was never good for you anyway, and you're making space for something that's going to be perfect for you. So get really determined to design it and create it and decide who those people are, because they will arrive and they will be appropriate for you. And they won't be all about manipulating you and pushing you around and making you do and be what they think you should be. There'll be people who meet you where you are and where you can meet them where they are, and there'll be an equality and a love and, you know, all that stuff you wanted. So get really clear about that. Say no to what you don't want and start getting clear about your yes. And as crazy and as impossible and as unlikely as it might seem, it is coming. The more you get clear about it, the more you begin to believe it in yourself. It's coming. It's law. I know I'm out of time. I haven't looked at the clock. Yeah, I'm out of time. I got a pretty good clock on my head. So much love to you. Big love. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.